Hey guys, welcome back to the Light Side Podcast. My name is Shola. I'm your host, and I'm super excited for this week's conversation. We have my dear friend Gabby Hardesty on to talk about holistic health. I actually met Gabby at our yoga teacher training in Maui in Hawaii, and she's such an incredible soul. I'm so excited for all of us to hear from her. Gabby is the founder of She's Health Conscious. She is also a yoga teacher. She's been doing health coaching. I'm going to hand over to Gabby to give us a brief intro on herself. Gabby, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Shirley. I am so excited to be on your podcast and just kind of tell people more about what I do and my passion and purpose in the world, I guess.
Yay. I can't wait to hear all about it. So, Gabby, do you want to start by maybe defining holistic health and what it means to you so that we can all be kind of on the same page when we think about what we're talking about today?
Yeah, totally. So, how I define holistic is like the willingness and desire to get to know your body on a deeper level, because you're literally listening and learning from all the different cues, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, and we're altering, what makes us feel good, what we need to change, trying to get to the root of, whatever the problem or the symptom is, and also to bring like homeostasis and balance to our whole body. So, not just making sure that we're in good shape, but what we're fueling ourselves with as well. And, informing people on the interconnectedness, how what you put in your belly, what your gut is going to affect your brain and your mood. So I think that's really the beauty in it, is it brings oneness to mind, body, and soul. And I've found that it's really connected me deeper with myself. I learned to listen to myself and not what somebody's telling me about myself, if that makes sense.
Totally. It does. And I love how you put that. I think it is all about mind, body, and soul. I feel like holistic health ensures for the longevity of our well-being. And
Yeah.
I love that. I'm excited to hear more. Okay, so I saw that you're an IIN. What does
Yeah.
that mean?
That's Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And that's where I did my schooling. It's actually based out of, I want to say LA. And we went from everything through like the chakra systems to grounding, functional medicine, lab testing, what you put in your body, supplements. It was just so well-rounded. It wasn't just, what you eat or working out, but again, everything in your life, it really brought your attention to. And a huge part of it is like conscious awareness. Okay. So the reason that my brand is called She's Health Conscious is because everybody used to be like, oh, she's so picky or she's so high maintenance. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. I am just simply aware of my surroundings and what I put in my body. And I choose to be aware, conscious of that. And
Totally.
so that's literally what I'm working to do, is just raise people's conscious awareness of, hey, this is bad for me, or this has, toxins and chemicals that maybe I don't want to consume or give to my child or spray in my house, because I'm sure, as you know, there's so much greenwashing, and these big brands, they conceal a lot from us. There's a lot of loopholes. And I don't care if you want to go eat a bag of hot Cheetos, but you need to at least know how that's going to affect your body, and, what ingredients are in there and the damage that it could potentially do in the long run if you consume something like that every single day. So yeah, I want to put the power back in the people's hands.
I like that a lot. I love the distinction you made. I think that's key. The difference between being picky versus conscious, right? You're being conscious of what you're consuming. And you mentioned the term greenwashing. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So I'll have like a lot of people in my life be like, look, Gabby, I got the vegan, gluten-free, blah, blah, blah. And these are just like fancy, the terms, the buzzwords that they're putting on the front of the package, and then nobody is even flipping it over to look at the ingredient list. So that's greenwashing, when something appears to be healthy from the words that they're using, maybe it's a green package, environmentally friendly, cruelty free, again, all these buzzwords, but the ingredient list is total crap. So
Right. I've seen that so much where it says like natural, blah, blah, blah. And then you read it and it's like not natural at all.
yeah,
And it just reminds me how in Hawaii we felt like we were in heaven for many reasons, but also because of all the nutrition we had. It all kind of makes sense how you
yeah.
feel about it, because I remember you looking at all the ingredients for things. And so I remember being like, Gabby, can you tell me, can I eat this? Just,
Yeah. When we'd go to any gas station.
and it's all bad.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But no, some things were not bad, right?
You
But
you have to know what to look for, and it's empowering when you do, okay, these brands are good brands. Even just looking for short ingredient lists is a great place to start. I mean, if anything has more than 30 ingredients, like, do you really want to be consuming it? And if you can't read the ingredients, that's another big red flag. I shouldn't have to Google what these are. I want to see that I'm eating real food, milk, eggs, cheese, wheat, whatever. But you should know what you're eating.
I love that as a rule of thumb. Like if it has more than, you said 30, what
I
would you
mean,
suggest? Yeah, because I love that you just said like if you have to Google it, it's probably not good for you.
yeah. Okay, I'll give a really good example and a shout out to this company I really like. Um, it's a St. Louis-based ice cream brand called Ice Cream for Bears. And their mission was to create like clean, simple, healthy ice cream. Because if you go and you look in the stores, A, it's all going to have natural flavors, which we don't really know what that is. And B, I mean, it's a list of long ingredients that all you need to make ice cream is egg yolks, sugar, milk. I mean, that's literally
Wow.
it. And so they took it and tried to do it as clean as possible using regenerative grass finished cows, raw honey, and pasture raised egg yolks. And their ingredient list is literally 3 to 4 ingredients, and it's delicious ice cream.
Wow.
But it just proves that it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need all these chemicals, stabilizers, gums. You really can just do it the natural, simple way.
I saw that ice cream on your story and I looked it up and I saw they sell it at Sprouts. By the
Yeah.
way, if you don't follow Gabby, follow her. I'll share all her information in the show notes. But I love knowing those things, right? It helps you know what you want to eat. And also, I love how the conversation naturally progressed to you giving that the tip. I think like I wanted to ask you, like, how can people like simply know what to grab? And I think what you just said makes it so easy and tangible to just remember next time we're shopping to be conscious.
And, money always plays a role. It's so much more desirable for somebody to reach for the $3 pint of ice cream versus the $6, $7, $8 pint of ice cream. Like that's expensive. But do you need to be eating ice cream every night? No. Should it be like a special indulgent, Yes. And
Yeah.
if you're doing that, don't you want it to be good for your body at the same time? Like there's a whole, roller coaster of thoughts that you kind of have to walk yourself through. Like, is
Mm,
it worth it? Is it worth saving $4 if I'm going to put something bad into my body? I
yeah.
think there's a misconception around health that like it doesn't taste good and it can't be joyful and enjoyable. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I eat all my favorite foods. I don't restrict anything. I indulge whenever I want. I just choose better quality versions. And that's like part of the work that I do is trying to highlight these brands that have purpose driven, value-driven brands that are thinking of the consumer and the people of our world over their profits. And I really try to highlight them so people know, hey, I can trust this brand at the grocery store and I want to support them because there's nobody else on our shelves except for this one brand who's doing it the right way. And, you know, a lot of these brands, I can talk to the founders like on Instagram. They're real people. They're not these mega corporations you can't get through. And I just, yeah, I really try to preach with people to vote with your dollar because, you know, who are you supporting at the end of the day? Is it local farmers? Is it big corporations that are polluting our earth and our bodies?
Right.
So, yeah.
Wow. And when you think about it, like we spend like that $5, $10, $20 difference in other ways. It's just we don't tend to prioritize what's going into our body as much because for most people, I think for most Americans, we're just used to eating whatever
Yeah.
is available or cheapest
It's the
because there's so
assumption
many options.
it's the assumption that if it's on the shelves, it's safe for us. You
Mm,
know, I mean, whether it be cleaning chemicals or like household food, like whatever it is, we assume if it is being sold and marketed to us that it's okay.
yeah.
And it's just not the case when you dig into it.
This became really clear to me in college when I was in business. I was taking a few business marketing classes, and one class we were talking about how the FDA knows that Coca-Cola and a lot of other companies use like these fake sweeteners in substitute of sugar so they can like market it as low calorie or low sugar,
Mhm.
just and they're also aware that it's been scientifically proven that these ingredients cause short term memory loss and they're just really bad for your brain. And they know this, but because Coca Cola is such a massive corporation, they basically pay them off, like pay off that they settle the lawsuits instead of actually like fixing their ingredients. So
Yeah.
whenever you have the option between having regular Coke versus Diet Coke, most Americans, I feel like, are obsessed with Diet Coke. I think the sweetener in it is addictive, but it's also bad. Like
Yeah.
it's proven scientifically to hurt and damage our body and our brain, and people still drink it. But it just shows that even the FDA is basically paid off to sign certain things off. It's a
Yeah.
little scary and sad. When I learned about it, I was so infuriated and it really made me want to get into public policy. But then I realized that like there's
An
just
uphill fight.
anyways, but those things are really they're frustrating.
Yeah, it is. And that's why, like, when we were in Hawaii or when I go to Germany or really anywhere in Europe, it's so much more attainable and accessible to live a healthy lifestyle because they don't allow, I mean, our
Exactly.
cosmetic industry, our chemical, our food supply, they don't allow half of the products and ingredients that we do in the US to hit their shelves or to even be in their country. So you don't have to try so hard to search for healthy alternatives and, you know, non-toxic things like you do here. I probably wouldn't, you know, make as much money if I lived in one of these places because people are just living life that way. And that's the standard, that's the norm. Their government is like protecting them and shielding them from those things. And we are quite jaded in that way because I will openly say like our government is just wanting the money.
Totally. Certain societies don't contaminate their marketplace to begin with. Wow, I got goosebumps. It's so sad that we deal with that. It just also reminded me yesterday, we were watching this stand up. I really like this comedian. He was saying how his friend only like buys grass-fed beef. In any other country, it's like them telling you that their 4-year-old is sober.
You know, we kind of talked about like addictive foods, but specifically fast food and chains. I mean, yeah. So what I wanted to say is that there's food scientists who are paid for these companies and they basically formulate, yeah, for these companies like how much sugar, how much salt to where our taste buds crave it and it actually becomes an addictive thing. So Like
Oh,
you
wow.
see people that are like, oh my God, I have to have Chipotle for lunch every day. Like I love it. Or I don't know, Chipotle is probably not my best example, but a Wendy's sandwich, like it is literally formulated so that your body craves it. And
Wow.
I want people to be aware of that too, because we're such like a slave to these cravings or addictions in our life. And people have enough, you're addicted to sugar, alcohol, drugs, who knows? You don't need to be changed.
It's like morals are out the door with some of these businesses, like hiring and plotting people to make your food addictive.
Yeah.
So it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, we've all had it happen to us where it's like, I could eat this whole bag right now. It's so
Yeah.
good. But they did it that way on purpose.
Right.
So you go to the store and buy another bag tomorrow.
Right. It's all about money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's at the grocery store and this mom and dad were kind of arguing like which pack of string cheese to get because the cheaper non-organic brand had way more. And then like the other kind was organic and not as many. And so first he grabs the organic and then he switches it. And they're basically having this conversation of like, well, there's no difference between them. Why wouldn't we go with the value pack? Why wouldn't we get more string cheese? There's no difference. And I'm just like ripping it, wanting to chime in and be like, actually, there is. Like one is pumped full of hormones and RBGH and antibiotics, and then the other one isn't. And whatever that cow is consuming is passed down through its milk, and now your child is consuming it. And I
Wow.
just had a conversation yesterday about my girlfriend was like, my boobs are so big and uncomfortable. And I said, decrease your milk products. Like you are taking on excess hormones and estrogen from these animals that are pumped with it.
Wow.
And it's things like that people would never register. All they see is, I'm not paying $2 more for organic.
Mm.
And I mean, yeah.
I have heard that a lot actually myself. Like, oh, there's no difference between the organic, especially in the produce section. What do you think about this? Like, a lot of people are like, there's no difference between these bananas and those bananas. They're just like 20 cents different.
Yeah. I mean, I do get sketched out because like I'm not the person who's out there in the field verifying it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just not sure what those processes are like. And especially when the brands that were, I can't think of like a big name brand right now, but they had always been conventional. They never had an
Like
organic.
Dole, is it called?
Dole. Yeah, there we go, Dole. They never had an organic product. And now all of a sudden, organic's on the rise. And I see next to their conventional bananas that they have organic bananas. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So
It's
for
true.
me, it gives me peace of mind, to know that when I'm buying organic produce, it should not have been sprayed with pesticides. Um,
Hmm.
I will say, like, one thing to definitely steer clear of in the produce aisle is Bill Gates created a product called Appeal, Appeal, I think. And it's a sticker. They made them label the fruit with a sticker so that people would know what has been sprayed with this film. And essentially, fruits and vegetables that are sprayed with this Appeal spray keeps them from ripening or like rotting. So like now your avocado is lasting you 3 weeks. That's weird.
Wow.
And the reason that they had to specifically label it so you know is because that residue doesn't just coat and protect the outside, it seeps into it. So now you're consuming what all the other bugs would not touch. And there's a reason pesticides work because they blow up bugs' stomachs.
Right. Right. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe like this is mind-boggling.
Yeah, you like have to stay up on this stuff because it's always changing. Like the little loopholes that people find. And it used to be, yeah, look for grass-fed, right? And then it changed to no, you need grass-fed, grass-finished because people were saying it was grass-fed, when they would feed their cows, a 20% grass diet and then finish them off, fatten them up with corn, GMO, wheat grains. So yeah, it takes it to another level.
Wow. Talk about that greenwashing, right? That you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. I mean, talk about eggs. People have no idea. Do I get pasture raised, free range, organic? Like there's so many options because they all mean slightly technically different things.
Yep. Can you tell us, do we have time? I don't know. I'm
So
one of those people. I'll be Googling like pasture. I don't know.
yeah, no, it's crazy. So like, okay, so we'll just start with organic. Like organic means that maybe they weren't fed pesticide sprayed food and they weren't given like a lot of antibiotics or hormones. So that would just be like the organic eggs. And now you've got free range, which you're thinking free range means that like they're out frolicking in a field. No, free range just means that they're not caged inside the structure. So like I'm sure you've seen like inside one of those chicken things where it's just like disgusting and
Yeah.
they never see the light of day. So that's a misconception. Like free range just means that they're basically not caged in, but the environment is still really horrible. And now
Technicalities are important in marketing.
yeah. And then you've got the pasture raised, and this is like the creme de la creme. These brands specifically talk about, how much acreage they have. They eat bugs, they have sunlight. Down to a psychological aspect, you want to eat happy animals. Like, I'm sorry, but I feel okay with consuming animal products and not being a vegan because I know that these animals like had a good life. They got to live a life and weren't just stuck in a cage. And
Yeah.
so I think when it comes down to like the humanitarianism of all of it, the sourcing and the quality plays a part.
I like that a lot. It's a great perspective to hold on to, like a baseline mindset to have about food is like it's like prioritizing how we spend our money and doing so in a way that's conscious.
Yeah, and that's where I see like I understand where vegans are coming from when they don't want to harm the animals. But
Yeah.
I think back to like Native American Indians. Like that's what they had to do to survive, but they weren't chaining these animals up and like toting them around. The animals lived their life out in nature and then, they were killed and used as food and that's kind of the circle of life there.
Yeah. No, you're so right. And then it goes back to like, how certain religions will have like kosher meat or halal meat is because like the way they treat the animal and also like the way they end their lives. But also,
So
I
true.
think this is all such good stuff the listeners can tangibly apply into their lives, like in terms of just basics. I know that, you know, there's so much more wealth to your knowledge and there's so much more to be said. Well, maybe we can, if you'd like to maybe spend a couple minutes like sharing your personal story, like what led you into holistic health. And then maybe we can talk about some of the things that have personally made an impact for you in terms of changes that you've been able to make.
Yeah. I really like sharing how I got into it because it lets people know that I've been on both sides of the fence and I understand how the average American household is because I lived in it and I also lived in a holistic household at the same time. When
Mm.
my parents were together, there was often the conversation or argument of, why are you buying the brown eggs? And, there's no food in the house when it would be, grains that you would have to make yourself or leafy vegetables and fruits.
Mm.
My dad was, he was expecting to see boxes in the pantry and microwavable things in the freezer. So, they would kind of clash on these things because my dad didn't see the value in spending more money for high quality natural food. But my mom had been a yoga teacher since a very young age, and that kind of catapulted her into the importance of what you put in your body. And so when
Mm.
they got divorced, I was constantly going from a house where I'm eating hamburger helper, frosted flakes for breakfast, and we always had some type of dessert. And we watched a lot of TV, which is like literally very American typical household. This is my dad's house. Love you, Dad. And then my mom's was like, let's sit at the table and eat. We would, always some type of protein, vegetable, homemade soup. The products that I used over there were different. But as a kid, I didn't think her way of life was right. I pushed back a lot. And I was like, looking back, I was so addicted to sugar and carbs. I didn't want anything my mom tried to feed me because my taste buds were hijacked by, what I was fed at school, eating candy with kids, and what I had at my dad's. So it took like a lot of unlearning in my later teenage years and early 20s to realize that, okay, my mom was right. Like if I do eat how she eats, I feel better. I'm not as cranky. I have more energy. And so when I was 18, she had bought this docu-series called GMOs Revealed. It was like not accessible online. You had to like purchase them. And then she wanted to have a viewing at her yoga studio to basically educate people on what are GMOs. And if you're not familiar, GMO stands for genetically modified organism, which basically means the plant or vegetable, fruit or vegetable, its DNA has been manipulated. So it is not the, natural God-given version of that fruit or vegetable. And I was like very mind blown watching this as I was probably 16, 17, 18 years old. The studies that these scientists had put out on these different foods and how they affected your body, you have to imagine that if something is blowing up a little insect's stomach every time it tries to eat it, then what is that doing on like a human scale when we're consuming these things over and over? And then you see a population that is having leaky gut, IBS, stomach issues. Well, something's eating at our gut. So I had all this information in my head, and I'm going off on my own at 18. I made rules for myself that I couldn't control what I did out in the world so much. I was still like a normal kid. I'd go out and I'd eat and I'd drink, but what I bought for my apartment, I made sure it was organic and non-GMO. And, I created that little safe space. And then later came the products where I would just start running out of stuff and I would try to replace it with something new. And then before I knew it, like my whole life had just kind of become this a healthy, holistic one. Just simply by, I was really self-taught for most of it. I read a lot of books, a lot of podcasts. And then when I found IIN, my school that I graduated from, I didn't know that health coaching was a career. And it really just kind of dawned on me, like I can make a career out of educating and sharing my lifestyle, something that I really enjoy for myself. It brings me confidence. It brings me vitality. Well, that sounds like a good job, a fun job, to just help wake people up. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And there's a lot of emotion tied to it. People don't want to give up the toxic laundry detergent that they grew up smelling, or, these comfort foods. It's so integrated deeply in our DNA, in our system. So I just want to say, like, to people listening where it seems very unattainable, it's just an unlearning and a relearning process, and it's empowering. So, just start with one thing at a time, make little adjustments in your life, little rules for yourself, if you will. Because it just takes time.
Yeah. That's so helpful. I think a lot of people can relate to that. You had those two experiences that were so distinct, but ultimately it was the natural progression of your life, seeing how you felt energetically and seeing like, okay, wait a minute, this stuff is actually really bad for me. You notice a big, big difference when you're consuming sugary foods and processed foods or even like fast food. It's like personally, I get like almost sick.
Yeah.
um, and that is one of the reasons I stay on the path of like eating more consciously is because I think about how I'll feel and I'm
Yeah.
like, that feeling is I don't want to have that feeling. um
It really has to be something you experience for yourself. Because like I said, as a kid, my mom pushing it on me, I mean, she could tell me the facts, she could tell me it wasn't good for me, but I didn't care. I had to learn that for myself.
yeah.
And same with, everybody else in their families.
And I think what's really scary is that for most people, it's been their baseline experience that they don't know any different. They just feel like, okay, I need to drink this much coffee. Now I need to do this. And I need to, and it's like we forget that no, like the reason why you're drinking all this coffee or like you need these other sugary drinks to lift your energy is because you're eating all these other things that are
Mhm.
draining your energy. It's just like being able to experience like clean eating, I think is what helps you notice. Otherwise, you don't know any different. You think that you're just like that. I
Yeah.
don't
Well, it's so societal too.
know.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like everybody drinks coffee. That's the norm. Everybody has pre-workout in order to work out or an energy drink to get them through the rest of their day. Like when that's all you see, you just accept that as like, oh, well, I don't, nothing's wrong with me. Everybody has to do this. And
Yeah.
that's not the like, put yourself in different circles and you'll see that that is not the case. Um,
And this is truly where like knowledge is power, right? Like knowing this is how XYZ will impact me. And oh, this is why I feel groggy. Oh, this is why I feel tired. Or this is why, it's like, it's not just how you are. I think most people think that they're just like that because
yeah,
that's all their body has known. And it's like,
yeah,
no, you're
yeah.
not just like that. You're literally fueling yourself to be that way almost.
Yeah. And a lot of times in Western medicine, it's not a big enough symptom for them to look into.
Mm,
You can't just say like, yeah, my energy is lacking. Like, what could it be? They're not going to go prescribe you diet and lifestyle changes or even really run any tests on you unless something is majorly wrong. And that's, another part of my work is like this preventative healthcare. Um,
mm.
Running labs on yourself, taking supplements before there's an issue, getting ahead of it. It's a whole different way of thinking.
Tell us about that. Like how, if someone wants to work with you, what would you suggest that look like?
So, I mean, just kind of depending on like what your symptoms are, maybe a hair analysis to see what kind of toxicities you have or your mineral levels. A lot of people, like a lot of just even mental depression, anxiety can be caused from a zinc deficiency.
Mm,
Something so simple, but like most of our country is deficient in zinc without even knowing it. If you're having gut issues, I would probably have you do a stool test or a urine analysis, and these are all kits that I can just send to your house and then you mail in. Some things require a blood draw where you would just go to a local quest. But again, it makes it like really easy and accessible for you to do without having to be in like a hospital or I don't know, anywhere
yeah.
weird. Once I get the results, I consult with an integrative doctor. He's world renowned. We talk, go over your labs, and then, from then it would be seeing maybe some high quality supplements that you need or diet and lifestyle changes and just really like whatever area that I can support you in. And then we check up, 6 weeks from there, whatever you could retest or we just readjust maybe something in your plan. But yeah,
Wow.
that's kind of
Awesome. You and I, when we were at the yoga retreat, we learned a lot about Ayurveda and how that's such a self-healing tool. Do you incorporate any of that into your health coaching?
yeah. Well, and just in my like personal life, I love Ayurveda. It's a lot of herbal remedies and a lot of self-care, I'd say. Um, just even simple acts like, people are always like putting lotion on, but how often do you actually like take the time to really like be with your body? Give yourself a self oil, self massage. You scraping your tongue in the morning and like removing the bad bacteria that you would just be swallowing down. Getting that out of your body. And I know you're big on the lemon water, like flushing your system. Again, something so simple and attainable for people. So yeah, I love Ayurveda and incorporating it any way that I can.
Totally. What I really like about Ayurveda for anyone who's not familiar with it is that I feel like it does provide you with almost a blueprint to your body type, like based on your tendencies. You can take a quiz online to find out your body type. There's like the fire and pitas, right? Kaphas are like the earth, water, and then vata is
But
what
yeah.
Gabby and I are. I think it is super helpful to know this about yourself because then you can also self remedy in a way,
Mhm.
right? Like you can, like for me, I know that eating a lot of cold stuff isn't going to help my digestion
Yeah.
and just how I feel. Like I'll have a smoothie and I'll be cold for like 3 hours, but I love smoothies, but it's like, maybe I
No,
just eat my vegetables in a soup or in a warm harvest bowl or whatever.
no, I'm really glad you brought that up because that like my whole training and philosophy and everything is very bio individual, and that's Ayurveda kind of puts you into three different categories, but still making it individual for your body type, in your, I don't know, constitutional makeup, whatever they say. Um, and yeah, like you said, me being a Vata too, I don't do well with salads and smoothies where that's kind of what we see on Instagram. Like if you want to be healthy, you have a smoothie for breakfast, a salad for lunch, but that is not that doesn't work for everybody's body. I feel so much more nourished and satisfied when I have a warm hearty meal and my body processes it better. I get more fuel from it. So no, definitely people can take away that like don't follow the trends, like listen to how you're feeling because sometimes the healthy things aren't healthy for you specifically.
Totally.
I feel like I was always forcing myself to do those things like, oh, I need to eat this big salad because it's going to be good for me and I need to
Yes.
drink a smoothie, but I wasn't I
Yeah.
wasn't loving it.
Yeah. If anyone is looking for indicators as to like self-healing, self-soothing, it's like asking yourself, like, how will I feel afterwards? Like, how do I usually feel after X, Y, and Z? A lot of times we are seeking short-term gratification, whereas like that short term sometimes is only literally 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
Um,
And just to expand on that, like, yeah, check in with yourself. Ask yourself questions. Notice how you're feeling. So many people think that they're bloated all the time, but then when they actually start to pay attention, they figure out that certain foods are triggering it. So again, just like being very conscious and present with yourself and everything that you do.
Totally. This is all super helpful, Gabby. I'm loving this conversation. I feel like we can go on for so much longer. Maybe one or two last questions. Everything so far, I feel like has been very practical in terms of applying it to our lives. Are there any other like holistic health practices that listeners can incorporate into their daily routine that you'd suggest?
There's so many different like wellness tools and modalities. I think it's just finding what fits best into your lifestyle, your routine, what resonates with you most. I'm a victim of trying everything and like wanting to incorporate everything. And then I fail. And it's like, you feel defeated if you don't do like your 12-step morning and night routine. But just reminding people to like, it doesn't need to be that complicated. Like, just try to do something for mind, body, and soul. I like to give people options. Like maybe you don't want to journal every day, but you could meditate that day or sing, dance, like some way to express yourself creatively. Same with working out. I'm not going to do HIIT 5 days a week. That's just not in the cards for me. But maybe one day I'll go for a walk or yoga. Like, give yourself options to where you don't feel like you're falling off. You're still nurturing yourself in all those ways. Um, and I mean, really key players for me have just been like breath and meditate, like just finding stillness when I can, and remembering to breathe and like to connect my breath through my body, because there's probably other people listening who breathe like just with the top, 1/3 of your chest all day long.
Yeah.
And again, it's a conscious thing to bring yourself back into your body, and choose you and your peace, and to give yourself that moment, because I know we're all just like running on autopilot, like trying to do as much as we can, be so productive, and it's harming us at the same time. So if we could like slow down and nurture ourselves, we actually get more in the long run. And you almost like, you don't believe that. You're not going to believe me hearing it. You have to do it. And you still get everything done in the day, but with more peace.
It's so true. And I really like the emphasis you made on small changes, just slowly and gradually cutting and changing things
Yeah.
so that it's realistic versus like our body repelling it. Because, like you said, these foods have addictive properties. And so it is going to be hard to change everything all
Mhm.
at once or dramatically. So, how can our listeners find you and work with you or learn more about your offerings and what you can do for them?
Yeah. My website is just www.sheshealthconscious.com. I have a blog. You can actually order high quality supplements yourself through my Full Script account. I give everybody a 10% discount. And these are all just like very high functional medicine grade supplements. So if you know that you're needing something and just don't know where to find it, I feel like that's a great resource. I have information on my functional lab testing. And then I have like two different stores. One is called Brands We Love. And this is like I talked about earlier, these small brands that I want to see thrive, that are doing good things. They're value-based, purpose-driven. So I have all of those brands listed there with usually like a discount. And if you just click their logo, it takes you to their page. You can order directly from their website. And that's like, I direct people there so that they can start to recognize these brands when they see them in the grocery store. They know like, okay, Gabby has vetted and approved these labels. And then the other tab is called Marketplace. And that links to my Amazon storefront, where I've broken everything down into categories for kitchen, bathroom, hair, makeup,
Nice.
pantry. Yeah. So then you can just like directly shop off of Amazon. Um, and honestly, like DM me. I love questions. I love when people are trying for themselves. So send me the back of a label, send me a product you're thinking about getting on Instagram. I
Mhm.
will give you guidance happily and freely.
That's so
Um,
amazing.
as far as working for me, I have a Calendly and an email, and just really however I can support you. I don't do any like set packages, or it just totally depends on you and what you're needing right now. Um, I'm launching a new grocery shopping offering. So if you're local, or even if you're not, maybe you have like a grocery delivery, but I really want to start teaching people how to read the labels, and, just stocking their homes with healthy, non-toxic, organic food, to set them up for success and make them feel empowered in their home.
This is all so amazing. I love what you do, and I'm so grateful for this conversation, for all this knowledge that you shared with us. And I am a fan of your Amazon storefront. I have shopped it, and I also love your website. Definitely check out Gabby's website. Her work is amazing. If you don't follow her already, follow her on Instagram. She shares fun bits of health stuff that you can add to your life and make your life more conscious and healthy. And so all of this, Gabby, again, we can talk for so much longer. We'll have to have you come back on and talk about more in depth on any topic. Listeners, please let us know what you thought. Let us know what you want to hear more of. Feel free to message Gabby as well. Let us know any of your thoughts and feedback.
Yeah. If you guys are interested in, all the mindset work that Cholet does, and also, about living a healthy lifestyle, we are in the process of planning our first retreat. So stay in touch with us. We would love to connect with you in person.
Yes. Yes.
We're so excited.
We're so excited about that. You can't see our face, but we're smiling from cheek to cheek. More exciting news to come. A lot more to come on that. Gabby, thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a pleasure. It's so good having you, and can't wait to continue to learn and grow with you.
Thank you, Shilly.
We'll see you guys next time. Thanks everyone for joining in.